And there's three speakers today. We've got Alan Briggs here from Crisis Shield. We've got Scott from KMTech, I'm sure most of you know, and I'll be speaking a little bit. So we'll run through this process. What we're going to cover, some of the things we're going to cover today, really why cyber resilience is now a board level issue, director and executive responsibilities under pressure. We are going to do a live cyber incident simulation. We're going to look at how that, really the decision making, how critical that is in the first hour. Scott's going to talk about some supplier and third-party cyber risk. We're going to go into some emerging exposure around shadow IT and AI use. I'm not sure if anyone knows exactly what that means. We've had shadow IT for a long time. People have been able to use applications and things that you've not necessarily rolled out through the enterprise. But shadow AI is another thing. But we've got some tools we run across your environments now that are starting to give us reporting on shadow AI. So there's some cool things that we're going to be able to show you. Surprising to see just how much adoption there is in our clients' environments on our AI usage. But Scott will talk a bit about that. And just some practical next steps for boards and you guys, business owners. So with that said, I'm going to read from my notes. We'll get right into it. So why is cyber resilience a board level issue? There's three reasons I've got on the slide here, and each one of them matters. So first, cyber incidents escalate in minutes, not days. This isn't a slow-moving crisis where we have weeks to convene a committee. 1 minute your systems are running, the next data may be compromised, operations may be down, and your phone is ringing. Second, the decisions made in that first hour shape everything that follows. Whether the organisation contains the damage or makes things significantly worse often comes down to how prepared leadership is in that first hour. And third, this is one that's changed most in recent years. Boards and executives are now directly accountable for response and oversight. Under the Corporations Act, directors have a duty of care and diligence that's under Section 180 of the Act, and that duty extends to managing cyber risk. So in plain English, we're expected to take reasonable steps to understand, oversee and govern cyber risk. We cannot hand this off to the IT team and hope for the best. ASIC's been clear on this. Back in 2015, ASIC confirmed that cybersecurity falls squarely within directors' duties and identified it as a high-risk area for business. And ASIC has backed that up with enforcement. So in that landmark case from then against RI Advice, Australian Financial Services licensee was fined $750,000 for failing to maintain adequate cyber risk management. That case set a precedent. Poor cybersecurity can equate to a breach of directors' duties in Australia. So it's not an IT problem, it's a corporate governance and risk issue. And that's why we're having the conversation today. So directors' expectations have shifted and cyber is now part of the governance test. So recently I attended the AICD company directors course. It wasn't to add some letters to my LinkedIn profile, but to reflect on how director accountability is evolving. One message came through very clearly. Cyber risk is no longer an IT issue. You can delegate away. It's a core governance responsibility. So what's changed for directors is pretty simple. Cyber now sits squarely within governance. Responsibility can't be delegated away to management, and boards are expected to actively oversee and be accountable. The good news that I got from the course reinforced something important. The boards don't need to be cyber experts. We do need board-grade clarity, evidence-based assurance and rehearsed readiness. That means knowing at a high level what data we hold, where the material risk sits, and what the impact would be if governance fails. Because when an incident happens, boards aren't judged on intent or effort, they're judged on how well governance holds up under pressure. So regulators won't accept that things like IT had it covered. So the real question for any board isn't, do we take cyber seriously? It's, are we ready to demonstrate that when it matters? So how do boards meet these expectations in a structured way? Fortunately, we've got an excellent bit of guidance. The Australian Institute of Company Directors and the Cyber Security Cooperative Research Centre have jointly published a document called the Cyber Security Governance Principles, and it's now in its second edition. It's a practical resource that provides best practice guidance for boards and to govern cybersecurity effectively and help organisations go beyond compliance to build genuine resilience. The publication's got 5 principles in it. I'll walk you through them, very high level, but setting clear roles and responsibilities is the first one. So really thinking about how you define who's accountable for cyber, not just at the management level, but how the board has oversight across that. Ensure regular board reporting, where appropriate, independent external assurance. The number 2 is develop, implement and evolve a comprehensive cyber strategy. Identify your critical digital assets and third-party risks and keep that strategy dynamic, because the threat landscape just keeps changing. It doesn't stand still. Embedding cybersecurity in existing risk management practices. So treat cyber risk as enterprise risk. Integrate it into your risk registers and committees. Validate those controls regularly and assess vendor security. Promote a culture of cyber resilience. So it starts at the top. Boards and executives should lead by example. Support mandatory training, incentivise good practices across the organisation. And the last one, which is one of the reasons why we're here, is to plan for a significant cyber security incident. This is one that I'd highlight most. Have a response plan, conduct scenario testing, establish clear communication plans, and run post-incident reviews to strengthen your response each time. The key question, I think, for any board was when was our incident last tested, incident plan last tested, and what did we learn? If the answer is we haven't tested it yet, that's a governance gap you should close. There's a little bit about standards and frameworks here. I'm sure all of you have seen them before, but boards should leverage these, or leaders, businesses. They give structure and benchmarks to that oversight. It's got 3 widely used examples here. The Australian standard, which is Essential 8. I'm sure all of you know about the Essential 8. It's really I'd say it's a baseline standard for cyber hygiene. It does align well with the notifiable data breach scheme, if you're aware of that, if you're across that. I think we're at about 91% of all breaches would have been prevented if they had the Essential 8 in it, ML2, so that's an important one. That's why we apply that to our clients. There's ISO 27001, it's an international standard for information security, security and privacy protection. Define requirements for an information security management system. We, KMT's certified at ISO 27001, and we do have a compliance as a service offering on that front. And then NIST is a global framework, cybersecurity framework. It helps organisations of all sizes understand, manage and reduce the risk, cyber risk. The critical point for boards is it's important to align to one of these or more, but alignment on paper isn't enough. You've got to regularly test your adherence to them. So I'll just bring you back to that core message before we shift gears. So cyber incidents escalate in minutes, not days. The decision made in the first hour will shape the outcome for the organisation and for its people and its reputation. Boards and executives are accountable for the quality of the response and the governance that underpins that. So here's the reality. Most organisations have plans. Few have tested them. And even fewer are confident about how their boards and execs would actually respond in the first critical hour. There's a real gap in governance readiness across organisations, and today's session is about starting to close that gap. So now let's put that into practice. I'm pleased to introduce Alan Briggs. He's the CEO of Crisis Shield, one of our trusted partners in this space. Alan's a leading expert in crisis management and communications with a background spanning Vic Police, I'm giving you a pump up, Briggsy, Vic SES and senior emergency response roles. Alan now advises organisations on preparing for and responding to high-impact crises and incidents, the kind of situations where leadership and governance are truly tested. Alan's going to take us through a live cyber incident simulation. So for the next 20 minutes or so, I want everyone in the room to take a step into a role. You're the CEO, you're a member of the board or a chair. You just received a phone call. A serious breach is unfolding. Pay attention to how you make decisions, where the gaps are and how it feels to lead under that kind of pressure. This is your opportunity to see what governance looks like when it's tested in a safe environment before it happens for real. So Alan, the room is yours.